I'm Lori Faith. I'm the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy and International Affairs here at the Department of the Interior. So I have the great honor of working with our Office of International Affairs and a whole host of other folks across the department. And I'm sure you all are well aware that as part of the Office of International Affairs, we have the International Technical Assisted Program headed by Barbara Pitkin, who's here in the office. And this is just a really exciting kickoff to 20 years of the department providing really critical technical assistance all over the globe. So really honored to be here and be a part of the event today, and just want to welcome you all. Today we're going to have a presentation on our work in the country of Georgia around their protected area system, hand in hand with the Department of Interior through our technical assistance program. We've been working in Georgia for a long time, 15 years, since 1999, which is just really great, and you're going to get a terrific overview of what we've been able to accomplish and why it's so important. So we went into Georgia to work around the Georgia park system and have really played a big role in making it an engine for cultural and natural resource conservation and sustainable economic growth for the people of Georgia. Today's presentation, as I said, marks a year-long series of presentations, so hopefully you'll get a lot out of the presentation today and can help us spread the word to folks for the future presentations as part of our celebration of our 20-year anniversary of the ITAP program. And I want to give a special thanks to Diana, who I saw, but not Diana, Ziegler and the Museum Series for welcoming ITAP into this really important program. Again, ITAP was launched 20 years ago this month. It was a gateway for technical experts from across the entire department to apply their expertise overseas. We're supported through the U.S. Agency for International Development and the State Department. ITAP deploys hundreds of DOI experts per year on short-term overseas assignments. Through ITAP, we've forged countless partnerships, conducted thousands of training workshops overseas, and hosted hundreds of U.S. training experiences. And what I've witnessed in my tenure here at the department is the power inherent in sharing ideas, experiences, and best practices. The benefits have been decidedly two-way. So folks go out, provide their expertise. We've had just a huge impact on everything from parks infrastructure and park system to law enforcement to governance. And while our folks are out there, they're learning a tremendous amount from the folks that they're working with and bringing that home to their home agencies and to the department. So today we're going to hear from one of our star in-country coordinators, Paata Shanshiashvili, who has worked with us for more than a decade. Paata is often referred to as the John Muir of Georgia, which is really quite a big statement. We've been fortunate to have such a talented and inspiring partner for our work in Georgia. He will describe for us how the department has influenced the path of development in Georgia. And then we're also going to hear from Ken Mabery, who is the acting superintendent of the Colorado National Monument. He's long served as the senior advisor on the Georgia projects and has conducted numerous short-term assignments in Georgia over the years. Ken will tell us about the many benefits this work has had in our work here in the United States. And with that, I'm now going to turn the floor over to Ken for some remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Those of us sitting in this room, we of course take it for granted that the world's largest collection of geysers would be protected for all time. We take it for granted that a valley in California that has some of the nation's highest waterfalls and largest trees would be a legacy for future generations, and so on. But this is not always the case all over the world. After 150 years, national parks and other protected areas now seem such a part of our landscape that we often forget that it wasn't always this way, and it wasn't always that way all over the world. Georgia, who we are featuring today, that was the case. In this country, preservation was the vision of a number of conservationists, and if I leave out your favorite, forgive me in the interest of time. Some of the big stalwarts of conservation in this country were John Muir, who we've already had an allusion to, President Theodore Roosevelt, and we're sitting in the Rachel Carson room, and appropriately because she brought global conservation to the mindset of many Americans. The person that we are going to hear from Georgia follows in those footsteps, but Georgia wasn't as lucky as many as we were here in the United States. They have one champion that we'll hear from in just a moment. The phrase America's best idea is most often attributed to Alice Stegner, in his writings, and this has become an icon for the rest of the world to emulate. They want to emulate America's best ideas, the national parks and other protected areas. In order to export that idea, it became incumbent on the Department of Interior to devise a way of doing that effectively and efficiently, and thus 20 years ago the ITAP program was born. And it's been, well, let me back up. There's 152 countries around the world that have national parks and protected areas, and there are over 2,000 protected areas established worldwide. So ITAP is attempting to reach to those countries that need additional assistance in making their protected area system fully operational. And it's in that light that Paata Shanshiashvili, friend, conservationist, visionary, and the John Muir of his country, has been our contact for the last 15 years. Paata?
Thank you again. Good afternoon, dear American friends and colleagues. It's a big honor to be here to celebrate together with you 20 years anniversary of ITAP, which is the unique instrument globally. None of other agencies, the national protected areas authorities around the globe has such a wonderful instrument to share the best practices and experiences with the rest of the colleagues working around the globe. So welcome to the journey to learn more about exciting and inspiring partnership between Georgia and United States and Department of the Interior. So my connections to the Department of the Interior started when I was schoolboy. 1973, my father brought to me this postcard, which is the Yosemite Valley. In Soviet times, when I saw this picture, I thought I would never be allowed to go there. But this dream history made possible to happen. But a little later, still during Soviet times, there was Soviet American seminar or national parks arranged in one of the Soviet republics in Lithuania, when first time in history, 6 Park Service employees came to that seminar. I had a privilege to present there my ideas, thoughts as a young landscape architect, putting more emphasis on the landscape values that would bring to the social and economic sphere the new dimension. And I did this in English, and big Russian brothers noticed that. They came to me and told me not to communicate with Americans at all. Next day, we had a field trip, but all members of the American delegation came to me in the bus, while this Russian guy was sitting next to me, and he noticed that they came to me, and being very upset and ambitious young professional, in 1985, I told the head of the American delegation, Dennis Galvin, that one day we Georgians and Americans will have direct relationships. And that happened. In 1999, this long-awaited partnership started when famous, outstanding person, Brooke Shearer, special advisor of the Park Service, came to Georgia, and this partnership started. But just to give you more understanding of what country Georgia is, this is still on this planet, part of the Europe, and just to give you the better feeling of that, this is the extreme southeast of Europe in Caucasus, and neighboring countries in Georgia are Russian Federation, which is we are not lucky with that, but still Russia, our neighbor, and Turkey, and Armenia and Azerbaijan that are also having the same kind of history of Soviet struggle. And Georgia, country in between. Georgia is located at the Black Sea. On the north, there is the Caucasus Young Mountains that are the highest mountains in Europe. And the south, we've got mountains as well. And the lowlands, wetlands, forests, arid areas. And these are all in the territory which is the size of the West Virginia. Very small, but very generously, densely rich with the natural cultural legacy. I want you to believe in that. That's why I'm offering to some journey through my photographs. I'm a landscape photographer as well. This picture of one of the Georgian summits, together with a monastery to the left, which is one of the oldest monasteries. You see here, monastery, and indicates that this is the country of long history. Christianity came to Georgia in the 1st century. Apostles came to Georgia, and the Georgian kings were baptized in 4th century. And statesmanship history of Georgia dates back of 3,000 years. And the cultural and economic history that is archaeologically proved with artifacts dates back to 8,000 years of winemaking. So this is a cradle of many cultural phenomena, including the winemaking. So the country really is rich from the ecosystem's diversity, very high level of endemism, and then the range of the altitudes vary from 4 meters below sea level in the Black Sea area, where dunes are supporting water, and the wetlands are below the sea level, up to the 5,000 meters, which is pretty high, believe me. And you see the richness of ecosystems. This is the arid area, looks like Arizona, but still in Georgia. This is the area which is twinned with the Badland National Park and many others. By the way, 4 Georgian protected areas are sister parks of 4 U.S. national parks. High mountain lakes, alpine meadows, forests. This is actually the area which is below sea level. And the mountain peaks that are one of the highest in Europe, much higher than Mont Blanc in Alps. And the city carpets, and those natural phenomena, because of this so long cultural history, were recorded in art. This is native art. One of the native painter developed this piece of art, and that indicates the people were paying attention to the wildlife, to the natural features, to the natural legacy. And this is the leopard, which was always in Georgia, but now considered like a more than threatened, but still there. And the cultural phenomena in Georgia is, as I mentioned, is equally important. And that includes everything: cultural landscapes, architecture, archaeological, and non-material values as well. Right after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Georgia was one of the unique countries in which the new movement for protected development started. And Georgia moved very fast away from Soviet legacy, so-called zapovednik. I'm using Russian word. It means some kind of reserve that were during Soviet times. Those reserves were completely restricted from any public access, but at the same time they were the pleasure islands for Soviet leaders. So Georgia started moving away of that concept very fast, much faster than Eastern European countries. Again, the Georgia's concept was largely based on understanding that the country alone would not be able to succeed in that. The concept was, from the early times, based on the synergy between global players and bilateral partners like Department of the Interior, for example, or USAID and German government institutions, or organizations like UNESCO or IUCN, which is the World Conservation Union, one of the largest professional union, and the national level scientific and cultural potential, and the local experience that local people have about survival in those ecosystems. Based on those ideas, Georgia was one of the first countries that developed its own protected areas system, which is largely based on a universal approach. Let me just share with you a couple of those. This is a 6-category system that Georgia's protected areas is based on. That includes strict protection, U.S. model of national park, and other categories as well. But just to make clear for you the comparison, for example, first category strict nature reserves are similar to the wilderness designations in U.S. And the national parks are exactly the same as Yellowstone or Yosemite. Natural monuments are very close to your national monuments, and the managed nature reserves or habitat management reserves are closer to the wildlife refuges. And 2 other categories are pretty similar to many areas managed by the Bureau of Land Management. So the country started preparing its ground for this inspiring partnership I mentioned. And those brilliant ideas generated in U.S. like national park, like the ranger phenomena that is rather different from any other rangers around the globe, just protecting the resources. U.S. rangers are multi-skilled professionals managing resources, visitors, protecting and helping, and at the same time providing excellent outreach of those public land institutions to the public. Outstanding phenomena, resource interpretation that started in U.S. Park Service and spread all over the world. And public-private partnership, your concessions involvement in public land management. This is very unique as well. And sustainable facility management, which is the, again, US-born phenomena about nowadays it's well known, but this is still, the most experience comes from the US Park Service. And based on those dreams, and as I mentioned, this partnership started, and the real Georgia's program started, and with the major 3 components, which is the policy and legal framework, capacity building, and training as an engine, as a core of this project, and the transboundary protected areas development that actually benefited from U.S. experience having the transboundary parks with Canada, with Mexico, and to some extent with Russia as well. So the formal relationship started at high level, at the department level, and the affected all agencies under the Department of the Interior. This is the actual protected area system in Georgia, still island type, still a lot to do, but great achievement. And I would like to just highlight this protected areas development through one of the regions, which is the Tusheti, as seen in a green box. And one of the participants here, Jim Willis, had a privilege to visit the site. And would like to share with you some specifics. This is the area where we are using the different categories. This is a national park covering most of natural territories, ecosystems, habitats, unique forests, high mountains, and also the protected landscape, which is the category that actually protects the historical landscape, which is the unique example of harmonious interaction of mankind to the natural environment. And just to make you believe in that, I would like to again invite you to look to the couple of scenic pictures taken by me again on Tusheti. This is a Tusheti with high mountains. This is the area of the unique folk architecture, stone architecture. To the left, you see the defense structure. The defense structure was used not only against of man enemies, also the against of natural disasters like avalanches, for year-round living and survival in that area. And to the right, you see the residential structure of, one of the villages. And I picked this example because this area where the early fruits of gateway community benefits already starting showing up, and the revenues of locals started growing dramatically, as you see on this graph, because people took seriously the existence of park, and they started reorganizing various economic activities that brought to them more revenues. This is just start. And through this program, we developed core themes, like covering the entire protected areas management competencies, starting from the resource management to the visitor services to the outreach and environmental education, sustainable facility, law enforcement, and institutional development. That is rather based on the effective leadership, effective organizational development, and effective partnership. That was very new for post-Soviet country. Those are brilliant best practices that Georgians learned and still are learning, still will be learning. And methods used were the Georgia-based professional exchange, US-based professional exchange, study tours in the US, the assemblage of the reference library that contains the treasures of the best practices, and the demonstration projects. And people went through the exciting capacity development process that was not boring lecturing. This was more related to the combination of classroom and outdoors exercises that people learned many things, including the wildfire management that became very important for Georgia right after the Russian-Georgian War. That was in 2008, when Russians bombed one of the important conservation forests and burned them. And to combat this fire and have this capacity in place, the Department of the Interior generously provided equipment and the training. And you see the picture of showing how people enthusiastically are joining this training. And the people were discussing things, understanding the integrated management of those all 6 stress activities I mentioned above, and taking care about the globe very carefully. And the youngsters and youth also surprisingly expressed interest to be part of this professional training, and they were coming time to time to our trainings to learn about amazing best practices. And the study tours, as I mentioned, that had a dual purpose. The picture to the right shows you the celebration of the signage of joint action plan between the Point Reyes National Park, National Seashore, and one of the Georgian parks, Tusheti National Park. And this process going between Georgia and Department of the Interior was well recorded by Georgian TV crews and successfully broadcasted to the Georgian audiences through Georgian TVs. And as a result, Georgia's protected areas network has grown from 2% that was Soviet legacy up to the 9%, and this is not the end of the day. This is just in the middle. But unfortunately, we have losses. One of our champions, Brookshire, died, and Georgians decided to dedicate to her name. This is one of the interesting visitor centers developed throughout this project in Tusheti, and this center holds the plaque on her honoring and on her memorial. There is another plaque manufactured in the US. This is actually NCTC Ranger wall. And this in memoriam of a Georgian Ranger who died fighting in his park, fighting poachers. And this person went through our trainings. He was our student for this project. But there's still a lot to do, and there are some projections about the future phase vision for that would be very appropriate for Georgia to work with the Department of the Interior in the future. This is about the completion of the PA network, which is still island type. There's a need for building the ecological corridors and connecting. Connectivity is a very important ecological and social economic instrument. And the, again, introduction of the new, very innovative conservation financing instruments, and the integration of protected area system into the social and economic spheres that will bring the real sustainability. This is all about future plans, future projections. But just as a criteria, I would like to mention again another piece of the best practice that is in US. Each dollar appropriated by US Congress to the protected areas of the United States brings at least $4 benefit to the monetary benefit to the society on top of intangible benefits. Thank you very much.
I'd like to highlight a couple of things that Paata didn't say. First of all, Outside Magazine, I believe, was the first to put the label on Paata as being the John Muir of Georgia, and that was back in, I believe, 2002. Is that correct? Yep. Second of all, Paata mentioned that 9% of Georgia is now in protected area status. Anybody want to take a wild guess at what percentage of the U.S. is in protected area status? Take a guess. 4%. So, Paata says they are not finished in Georgia. We've been holding at 4% for quite a number of years. The other footnote that Paata didn't mention is that he is the author of the framework legislation, much like an organic act in the United States, for the protected area system of Georgia, as well as the author and co-author of many other pieces of legislation in Georgia. So, to conclude here, what do DOI employees get out of the Georgia project going to Georgia, and by extrapolation, many of the other ITAP projects? Well, first of all, we get to visit a country that was largely unknown to most Americans prior to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. But beyond that, we have a lot of knowledge transfer that occurs. The people in the circle are all in navy blue shirts with the DOI logo as the training component in this particular training exercise. Paata has alluded a couple of times to the 4 sister parks in Georgia. There are 28 sister parks all around the world, and a testimony to Georgia's outreach and the quality of their national park system. Out of 28, 4 of them are in the one country. We also have the very tangible rewards of passing on some wonderful training. As Paata mentioned, that the Ranger phenomenon of multi-skills, we started off the Georgia project with a lot of skill level training, and then advanced the project into more and more complex training exercises as time went on, going up to sustainable design for infrastructure, management structure and practice, how they should put together a headquarters system and a system of managing their individual protected areas. Protected area planning coming out from under the Soviet style of management. Everything was top down, not collaborative, did not seek a whole lot of input from a lot of folks, and ITAP personnel brought a lot of this to their program. And stakeholder involvement and partnerships, as Paata has already mentioned, reaching out to school children, but also the partnerships of reaching out between park rangers of this country and Georgia. And I have just recently had the pleasure of directing a team that has done a 15-year review of everything we've done in Georgia and tried to give a little bit of a map from our perspective of what could become the next stages for Georgia in ITAP, and that is included in your folder on your chair. A summary of that report, not the report itself, I'm sorry. I did mention that prior to the breakup of the Soviet Union, many people didn't realize that Georgia existed as a different country. Even today, when I do talks about Georgia, there's two reactions, one of which you already know, and that is, oh, it's a state in the southeast. The other reaction is, oh, that's a part of Russia. Well, as we have all been privileged to learn as we go to Georgia and come back, it's not a part of Russia. They have a unique alphabet, a unique language, and a unique culture that is not Russian. From those unique experiences, we come back with a lot of new professional experiences that, just speaking for myself, gives me renewed vigor to do the work that I do here in the United States. I see how far they've come every time we go, and every time I come back, I want to impart on my staff that vigor. Georgians have a couple of traditions that I want to impart to you that comes out in my mind as increasing my the way I look at mankind in a positive way. Now, very often when we work in Georgia, we're working until at least 7 o'clock. I can't ever recall getting off duty before 7 o'clock. And very often it's till 8 o'clock and sometimes until even later in the evening. So as part of the reward, Georgians have this view that visitors are a gift from God. They celebrate that. So when we are let off work, we participate in what's called a supra, or the Georgian evening meal. And anytime the guests, gifts from God, are present, a supra is likely to happen. A supra is a gathering of the guests and the local folks, and it's overseen by a tamada, who is a toastmaster, but he's more than that. He's also a person that is trying to make sure that everybody has a good time. And we are always involved in that. And that's why I always come away with this renewed vigor for the goodness of mankind, because of the openness of the supra, the evening meals, and the way we're treated. We bring a lot of other tangible and intangible crossover benefits away from our travels in Georgia. We have new experiences. It's not all classroom work, and we can see, as in the bottom picture, the fruits of our labor very quickly. Georgians have an almost unqualified reverence for what we're teaching them, and they try and implement it fairly quickly. So between, let's say, 9 months between various assignments in Georgia, we often see the fruits of the labor almost immediately. Contrast that with how long it takes things to get done within our bureaus here. We're always challenged to think of what is good for Georgia's resources and Georgia's people in their situation. And what that does for me personally is that I strip away the bureaucracy of what we go through here within our bureaus and agencies and get down to the real best practice without all of the paperwork that goes along with it, so that we can impart the best of what we do. We impart it not only to their agency, which they've developed very rapidly over the past 15 years, but to their park rangers. Had I taken this picture of this ranger a year before this one was taken, he would not have been in uniform. Actually, within 9 months, they went from non-uniform to a fully uniformed staff. The intangible benefits. To me, the biggest one is the friendships. There are other intangible benefits of seeing the culture that dates back millennium. I mean, even in Europe, things are old, but nowhere near as old as we learn about in Georgia, and how this has influenced a culture that continues today to want to reach out to the rest of the world. In closing, Paata gave you his views of how ITAP could go forward. We don't know the status of the project in Georgia, but we're collaborating even without funding. Paata and I would like to bring some of the Georgian Rangers to the International Ranger Federation Congress in Estes Park in 2016, and we will be doing this just by emails and fundraising on the part of private foundations. I have enjoyed my time, 12 years with the Georgia program, and I have to thank everybody from ITAP for allowing me to be involved. Thank you, Barbara.
Well, I am Barbara Pitkin, and I direct the ITAP program, and I think you can see why I love my job. I've had the honor and privilege to work with Paata and Ken over the past 15 years, and they have been just remarkable guides and mentors and just inspiring people to work with, and so thank you very much. I think it's clear the remarkable passion and intellect that Paata brings to his work, and I think Paata can rest assured that when we talk about conserving for future generations, I think there's many future generations of Georgians who are going to benefit from Paata's lifetime of work. And Ken, you've been an amazing senior advisor. The time and energy that you've devoted to this project has been just incredible. And you're the kind of person who is emblematic of the people of DOI who really make the ITAP experience pretty special. With that, I just want to say a couple of additional thank yous. Thank you, Lori, for making the opening remarks. We really appreciate all the support you've given to this program in your tenure and really just love working with you. Thank you, Diana, for welcoming ITAP into the museum series. It's been really, it's been much easier than it would have been to put on this presentation, so we really appreciate all that you've done, from developing the poster to helping us set up this room and to just allowing us to avail ourselves of all that you've learned about putting on a series of presentations. Just want to publicly thank my anniversary team, Colleen Castle and Olivia Anton. This was just sort of a wild idea to throw a series of presentations, and you guys have made it a reality, so thank you so much. Am I missing anything? I do have little notes here. Just that we welcome the entire department to be on our distribution list. So if you folks in the audience are not on the distribution list, we have a sign-up sheet in the back of the room. If you have colleagues that you think would be interested in participating in some of our short-term assignments overseas, please send them our information. We just really open our doors to the talent that is so obvious in this department. And we have another 20 years, we think, or more of exciting work to do. So we're happy to share with you if you have any further questions. We're actually going to, Paata and Ken are going to be staying behind to have informal chats with folks out in the cafeteria area. So if you'd like to just sit and chat with them, we welcome you to do so. So thank you again, and I think we're closing on time under the scheduled allotment. So thank you very much.